Hello guys, I'm Fizzy and welcome to another new series on my channel, back on Project Cars. This is the AOR GT3 Elite League on the PC platform, a league which some of you might remember I was part of myself. I did upload videos from my races back in Season 1 of this league, and I also took part in Season 2 and 3, although I didn't get around to doing any videos for that. But this is now Season 4 of this GT3 league, and for this season I have taken a step back as a driver, mainly because I have quite a few things going on and didn't really have time to do too much practice, which as a result meant I wasn't really all that competitive among this very strong field of drivers. But instead I will be following this season from the commentary box, doing live streams for every single race in this 10-round season, along with another man who also used to race in the league and one who knows Project Cars, the game, very well, Yorkie065, who's also got an awesome YouTube channel which you can check out with the links in the description. And yeah, we will be doing live streams for this league for this full season, and then upload an edited down version of that stream onto the YouTube channel, which is what you're watching right now for the first race of the season here at Brno, the circuit in the Czech Republic. An awesome racetrack for these cars, and one that should hopefully provide an excellent season opener. But before I drag this intro on too long, I'm just going to give some quick pointers about what the league is about. As I mentioned, it is a 10-race season in the GT3 cars, featuring some of the best circuits on Project Cars. Up to 24 drivers in this league. This is obviously the top PC split of AOR GT3, and also leagues on the console platforms as well, Xbox One and PlayStation 4. But this league is for the fastest of the bunch on the PC platform, and top 16 drivers in each race score points for the driver championship and the team championship for those of them who have formed teams. So they have had the opportunity to form teams of up to 3 drivers, and 8 teams have actually been formed. Some of them 2-man teams, some of them 3-man teams, and all of those teams using a different GT3 car. Obviously there are 11 different GT3 cars now in the game, and as many as 8 of them will be present in the league this season, which I think is the most varied field of cars that we've had in the first 4 seasons as well. So yeah, hopefully we'll witness some great racing from these guys, and before we head into the race, let's have a quick look at the qualifying order. Kaki taking pole position just ahead of F1 Masa. F1 Masa being the reigning double champion of this league, won Season 2 and 3, and in the 3rd position we got Brownsky, who won the 1st season of the GT3 Elite League. So some very strong drivers there. Amazing Maisie CZ, a veteran of the league, in P4, ahead of a debutant, Karotin Rudy. And then TonyR, Tipple, Mini Black, Nesterovic also making his elite debut, and then Pedro RC99 rounding up the top 10 in qualifying. I believe we had 21 drivers on the grid for this first race, and yeah, let's just jump into the action with a live commentary by myself and Yorkie from the stream, and I hope you guys enjoy it. But Yorkie, we are about to head out on the grid. Oh my word, it's a crash already! Someone's literally just jumped up in the air there. So we're just gonna have to retire straight away. Hopefully they can get away with that without any damage, as I am gonna go back to the pit box, into the spectator mode, and oh my word, this is a bit awkward.
Here we go.
There we go, side by side with Kaki and Masa. Wait, is that Masa in the BMW?
No, that's Brownsky in the
Brownsky?
BMW.
Up in the BMW?
Kaki going side by side. Yeah, it looks like Brownsky's managed to get a decent launch and slotted himself up in front of Kaki, but F1 Massa, but it looks like F1 Massa's taking a dive down the inside here. This grid is looking absolutely fantastic with the variation of GT3 cars running through these sequence of corners. But yeah, Brownsky getting a pretty decent start to begin with there. He's now back down in 3rd position, a position that he started with in qualifying. So I got a little bit of lag there with Carlton Rudy, who is currently in 4th position.
Yeah,
but
Masa
yeah,
back up to 2nd now.
Yeah, it looks like F1 Massa probably didn't have a too great a start. The Aston Martin does bog down a little bit and does suffer launching off the line with the start, so it may potentially give Kaki a good opportunity to pull away and make an early lead here.
Yeah, certainly. A bit surprising that Massa dropped a position off the start, but he got it back within half a lap, back past Brownsky. So Massa now charging after Okay, yes, Brownski a little bit under pressure. I think that was Karotten Rudy, the debutant from Germany, right behind Brownski. Going a little bit wide on the previous corner, but not losing a great deal of time. You can see the field very close together still, as we are going through this first lap out of 31 in this race around Brno. And Pedro RC running 5th place at the moment. I believe that's one pay position up from where we qualified, actually. I'm 100% sure on that though. And Tipple holding on well. I think we've got some side-by-side. Maisie holding off a Bentley, and there's a rough getting in the action there as well. Is that Nesterovic? He's also making his debut in the Elite League after coming a runner-up in the 2nd division, the Pro League last season. He's trying to challenge Maisie now. Maisie obviously was a veteran of the Elite League, been here since season 1. But did not get past him on this occasion though. But behind them, Mini Black in the... Yeah, Mini Black and Andrix fighting it out there.
Next teammate trying to get around the outside, coming into turn 3 in the brand new Cadillac. Looks like he's running a little bit deep there and has lost the rear end a little bit. Ooh. Has now gone and lost the position as well. He slipped down into 11th. Hopefully he can recover from that fairly swiftly, as the Bentley behind him is looking very, very eager to try and slip past him. In the next corner, it looks like Andrex moved a little bit to the right there just to cover any move down the inside in that braking zone. But
ooh, yeah, side ahead though. Maisie still defending from Nesterovic. This is some good battling right here. Nesterovic basically getting an undercut on Maisie through that pretty long left-hander, and he's actually got the move done, unless Maisie can get the better exit now on the next corner. Loads of kind of flowing chicanes on this circuit that you can, you can get if you're following someone who can just put him a bit under pressure, put him a bit offline and get a better exit, but Maisie not able to get back straight away on Nesterovic, who is up to 7th place, a bit of a gap forming ahead of them, up to Tipple now in 6th place. Let's actually go back to the front too. Massa though, I'm kind of glad that he hasn't passed Kaki yet, because then we would have missed an overtake for the lead. Don't want to do that. So Massa still running, I would say, around a second behind the race leader Kaki, and there's definitely a gap starting to fall behind those two, and as you'd expect basically from qualifying those two in a class of their own and pace. But some good battles happening up and down the field at the moment.
Yeah, so here are the first lot of fast laps. 1:57.0 for Kaki straight off the bat on lap 2. F1 Massa was about 2/10 slower than him, and then Brownski was the next fastest. Actually, it looks like Pedro and Karotten Rudy behind him were a little bit quicker. They did 1:58.7s. So things are looking fairly close by those guys, and actually looking back to 3rd position now. It looked like Karotten was having a little bit of a look down the inside of Brownski there for 3rd position, try and slot himself up into the podium, but don't think he was quite close enough there to the rear of Brownski to really make any move down the inside. And it looks like Maisie is still chasing Nestowitz there as well. Battle for 7th position, looking pretty close. It was actually interesting. I saw Maisie trying to line himself up for a switchback on Nesto after he had gotten past. However, I think he ran a little bit too wide and basically just cost himself the ground, and then obviously coming out the exit onto a straight where the Ginetta would have suffered it a little bit. It's a straight line speed. It just wasn't able to get close enough on the rear wing of Nesta to pick up the slipstream and potentially make a move down the inside. So Nesta's still in 7th for the moment. Yep. And Maisie's still in 8th position.
So the two Elite League debutants, Nesterovic and Karotten Rudy, showing some very impressive pace and racecraft so far in this race. On the previous lap, Karotten Rudy was all over the back of Brownski, but Brownski has managed to find a rhythm a little bit more. By the looks of it now in 3rd place, he's not really under pressure as they come towards the end of what I believe is lap 3 or 4. I mean, probably 4. It doesn't
lap
help.
3. I was saying the lap 3, we're now on to lap 4.
Yeah, it says laps remaining 28, so I guess that means we're done 3. So,
yep.
Karotten Rudy, yeah, a solid debut for him so far. And where is the other German, TonyR, who many suspected would be strong with the realistic assist settings? And looking Right. Now he's down in 16th, actually.
16th.
That is a bit surprising.
Yeah, I've just
TonyR.
picked him up now. He must have had a bad start. I didn't really see what happened to him. Doesn't look like there's any damage to his car. So, be interesting to see what he has to say about the first couple of laps after the race. Obviously, we're not going to bother him during the middle there, but yeah, I believe he was fourth or fifth. He started.
Yeah.
And he's now
He
dropped way
must have
down
had
to
he must have had an
16th.
incident or something, or a mistake. Because, yeah, TonyR definitely qualified much higher than where he is now. I'm actually looking at a battle between AJ and Mikael 7M for 14th position. I don't know how I ended up back there. I guess it was because I was looking back at TonyR, who was right behind them.
Yep.
Mikael 7M, obviously a Czech driver, meaning that this is his home race, and behind them, TonyR getting very close to AJ there, actually. I think he will be wanting to work his way through the field, but he has to do it cleanly. Don't be causing any incidents, obviously. And AJ putting Mikael very much under pressure. There seems to be a bit of damage at the front of that roof of Mikael, actually.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. It looked like AJ ran a little bit deep there, which has given Tony a good opportunity to try and sneak up the inside here. He hasn't quite managed to make it work, didn't stick his nose up far off alongside, and AJ shut the door on him. So Tony's gone and lost a little bit of momentum whilst AJ's picked up some and is actually having a good run down the inside of Michael here. Will Michael give him a little bit of room? Does give him a bit of a squeeze, and it looked like that AJ was having to climb up onto the curb a little bit to avoid making contact with him, but it looks like that both Tony and AJ are all over the back of Michael, trying to get past fairly soon. I did have a quick look at TonyR's previous lap time as well. When we picked him up, as Tony tries to go around the outside here as we come into turn one. Doesn't look like that's quite going to work for him there, so he tucks back in underneath the rear wing of AJ. But yeah, like I was saying, TonyR's previous lap was actually faster than the guys around him. He did a 158.9, whereas the other guys were on a 159. As it looks like Tony's having a look around the outside. No, he's performing a switchback now as AJ goes a little bit deep. Looks like there's a slight slide there from a guy up in front, kicking up some tyre smoke, and AJ and Tony get very, very close. Tony now right underneath the rear wing of AJ. Is he going to have a look down the inside, coming into the next braking
There he goes.
zone? Yep, he's going for it. He's got the inside apex there. It's a double right-hander, but AJ's still managing to hang
Fantastic
on
defending.
around the outside. That was absolutely brilliant stuff.
Yeah, really, really good line from AJ there to leave TonyR just enough room on the inside, but without losing any speed whatsoever. Hanging around TonyR getting very close together. Tiny nudge there. AJ dropping a little bit off Mikael ahead now as he's just desperately trying to defend this position from TonyR, who, if he looked at the qualifying sheets, he will know that is certainly a very fast guy around here. But TonyR is certainly struggling right now to find a way through AJ, who I've had some good battles with in the past as well, and I know he's one that doesn't give up in battles, always gives it everything he's got regardless of who he's fighting. And still holding on to 15th position. You know, we can see he's battling this hard for down in 15th, which obviously they're still within the points. Top 16 score points in this league. But obviously the further up you get, the more points you score, and that is what these guys will be trying to do. TonyR once again going to the outside there into the final chicane, but can't find a way. AJ just picking his defensive line beautifully, but can TonyR now have a chance towards turn one? Not really much of a braking zone into turn one. It's a very fast corner. AJ though, he brakes a lot.
It looked like he had a pretty good run there coming out the
I
final
think he
corner,
went too
picked up the
deep.
slipstream. Yeah, a little bit too deep, but this battling is actually bringing Blue Rat, who switched over from the PS4 league onto the PC. Also, one of the developers at Slightly Mad Studios is him into play quite nicely behind him. Only just a couple of car lengths. It looks like TonyR was having a little bit of a look down the inside there once again, but AJ giving just about enough room for Tony's Aston, but not enough for Tony to carry the speed through, and obviously having to bleed off a little bit of speed to try and make sure that he does avoid making contact with AJ. I imagine Tony's getting pretty frustrated at the moment. You can see that with his driving and how aggressive he's taking some of the corners here. Tony looking like he wants to get past as soon as possible and see if he can work his way back up through the field and recover his race.
Indeed. So, oh, it's actually having a go now, though. Can this be the one where he finally makes a stick? Got a bit too much on the curb, but he's holding it round the outside of the second apex of that little chicane. AJ trying his best still, and he's actually got a very good exit as well. I think he might just have this still, AJ. I can't believe how he's managed to hold on for this long. TonyR still on this outside, they're side by side, getting very close together. But Tony can't find a way through. I mean, he must be so frustrated in that cockpit of that Aston Martin right now. But it's all fair. AJ is just picking his lines well and frustrating Tony. You have to think, though, just based on how much Tony is putting AJ under pressure, that it might just be a matter of time. I mean, if AJ can hold him behind like this for 25 laps, that would be one of the drives of... oh well, of ever, basically. But
yeah,
so far doing an incredible job.
I think Michael may have had a slight moment somewhere along the line, because even though AJ and TonyR are banging going door to door, wheel to wheel, AJ has closed up onto the back of Michael, and it looked like that Michael was taking a fairly open sweeping line into turn one, which is a good line to take into the first turn, but it does open you up to a potential risk of being overtaken as AJ comes down the inside of Michael here into turn three. Looks like that AJ has pulled off the move. This allows Tony to get there, slip past both drivers as AJ ran a little bit deep on the brakes, probably making contact with Michael as well, which just allowed Tony to be released up into 13th position, gaining 2 places there in just a couple of corners. And now we should see a little bit of pace come from Tony. See if he can pull away and close up onto Nostra, who is the next person in 12th place, having a pretty good race at the moment behind his teammate of Silver Arrow. These two ran together last season as well. This time, rather than both being in the McLaren, they are now in the Mercedes SLS.
Bit of an interesting choice there. We haven't seen the SLS used much at all in this league in previous seasons, but it is now making an appearance on the grid with the Silver Arrow and Nostra. Trying that out, we got Ginger S, who I believe has only done a couple of races previously in this league at the end of last season. He's running in 10th at the moment, with a bit of a gap ahead of him, up to Mini Black in 9th, who seems to be a little lonely, a couple of seconds behind Maisie, who was now dropped behind Tipple. Tipple running 7th. Nosterovic up to 6th. Has someone dropped back? Because Nosterovic was 7th before.
I don't believe so. I think
figure this out.
He may have got past Tipple.
Right.
I'm not entirely sure, but sorry, Maisie is having a go at Tipple down the inside through turn 1 into turn 2. They're side by side at the moment. This will be an interesting battle, this little drag race here between these two small cars. And it looks like that Tipple is going to slot in behind Maisie, giving him the position at the moment as Maisie runs a little bit deep there into turn 3 and now into turn 4. This should give Tipple a pretty good run coming out the exit here. Does he have the acceleration to pick up a slipstream and take advantage of that gap behind Maisie's car? Doesn't look like he is quite close enough to have a move down the inside there into this double right-hander. But yeah, the drivers swapping positions once again as they try and pick up and find a rhythm in this race.
Yep. Good battling so far in this race, and worth mentioning actually, I'm seeing in the Twitch chat that Papand is typing, so he's obviously out of the race. It's a bit annoying that we can't see. No. We can't see in the spectator camera, like when a driver disconnects and stuff, which is a bit unfortunate. So if someone disconnects, we won't actually know about it until people come into the Twitch chat and start typing there, because then clearly they're not driving anymore.
that'll be where the positions got locked up then.
No, I'm not sure about that, because
I believe Papand.
I think Papand said in the Twitch chat that he got damage at the start, so he might have been that car that kind of got lagged into the air right when the light came on, maybe.
That's unfortunate, especially in the very first race of the season as well. But it's looking like there's a little bit of a train forming behind Brownski at the moment. From 3rd down into 7th position. Brownski is pretty well known for the trains that he likes to create in these races. He's a very, very good defender who really knows how to place the car and keep very, very quick drivers behind him did that to me a number of times last season, which was mighty frustrating, also a hell of a lot of fun. Brownski is a very, very good driver and knows when to space, and he's quite easy to read as well. So you know when he is going to shut the door on you. But yeah, he's a very difficult one to pass. And just jumping up now to the top two drivers, Kaki looks like he's extending a gap at the moment to F1 Massa, who are both doing very, very quick lap times. You can actually see that Kaki's last lap was a 1:56, which is crazy. It's like qualifying pace for a number of the drivers in this lobby.
56, I think that's faster than everyone else.
157.5, so that's a good 7/8 tenth of a second there that he's lost to Kaki. You can see that he is coming back, but I think third position is probably the one to keep an eye on at the moment. Pedro is under attack from Nestor a little bit here. Looks like Nestor's got a pretty good run. He's on the outside of Pedro coming into this next corner. Will he try and perform a switchback maneuver? Looks like Pedro's holding his 9 quite nicely. There's currently, basically preventing that from happening. Getting slightly muddled up with my words there, Fizzy.
I know the feeling. I've done that many times. So, yeah, Pedro holding on. Also got some good racecraft, as I have also experienced firsthand in the past. Pedro was kind of on my pace back all the way back in Season 1 when the game was new, but since then he's really just gradually improved, and he was a lot quicker than me last season. He's actually now, though, under pressure from Nesterovic, who is showing very good pace. I mean, like you said, he was down in 7th with a bit of a gap to the cars ahead, but he's now passed Pedro RC through the first corner for P5 and is moving up. So I think he's got some serious pace now, and it'll be interesting to see if he can challenge ahead Carrotten Rudy and Brownski. Carrotten Rudy giving Brownski a little look there into turn 2, but backed out of it, and Brownski still holding on to the 3rd place, as he has done pretty much since the since halfway through lap 1, but definitely under pressure. I think, like I said, the top 2 quite a bit ahead now. Massa running 2nd behind Kaki, and they're a little bit spread out. So I think Kaki is looking very comfortable, and I'm not completely sure in this Yoki, but it might be the first ever win for a Bentley in this league. Have we even had a Bentley in this league before?
No, we have not. I believe we've had it in a social race before, but not running in competitive, the actual elite season. I'm not sure if it's run in the Pro League. I think one driver may have been running it last season on the PC. I'm not entirely sure about that, so I could very well be wrong, but this is the first time that we've seen Bentley show itself en masse in AOR.
And certainly not seeming to slow Kaki down at all so far in the race, leading very comfortably here. But we have a battle of 2 BMW Z4s for 3rd position. Brownski still ahead of debutant, the German Carrotten Rudy. And Nesterovic, though, really has closed the gap to them. At the start of the lap, he was like a second behind almost. Now he's right at the back of Carrotten Rudy, and he might even have a go into the first corner in that rough. A beautiful yellow livery, and is going for the inside again. 2nd lap in a row. He's trying for a move, but Carrotten Rudy is holding a well round the outside. They're going to be side by side on the exit as we head down towards turn number 2. Carrotten Rudy carrying more speed on the curb and actually retaining that position. Very, very good defensive drive, but now Nesterovic coming up the inside as the camera refuses to switch, but it looks like Carrotten Rudy has retained it once again. But Nesterovic showing some incredible pace here in that roof, and once again getting incredibly close. Go down the straight into a hard braking zone coming up. Nesterovic claiming that inside line, taking a very, very tight line actually, which lets Carrotten Rudy carry more speed on the outside and retain the position once again. But now going pretty hard on that curb. Don't want him hitting these curbs at too wide of an angle, because they're a little bit, they can throw you off a little bit and send you into a half spin. Hit him a bit wrong. Carrotten Rudy, oh look at this, he's almost pushing him through the corner. There is Nesterovic, so close once again. a few corners there that are very similar, to be honest. I feel like they went through this corner already in this lap, but it's a different one. And this time Nostero is a bit of contact there. Nostero is diving up the inside, got the move done. I think there was a bit of contact, maybe a bit of lag. I'm not sure, Yoki, but what do you think of that one?
I think Rudy he was trail baking into the corner and lost the rear end a little bit, which kind of turned him in towards Nestero's line. But Nestero was pressuring pretty hard throughout that half of the lap there. And actually looking at the lap times, Nestero took good 6-7 tenths out of Karat and Rudy to close up onto the back of him, and he's very swiftly moved himself up into 4th position, as we saw. And I can only imagine now that Nestorovic is going to try and close up onto the back of Brownski. That's providing that Rudy doesn't try and make a move down the inside. He's getting pretty close through turn 1 here as we come out through the exit of that now into turn 2. Going to have a pretty good slipstream on the way down towards turn 3, but I don't think he's going to be close enough to have a go under braking. He's just going to slot in behind for the moment, which is probably the best idea for the strategy. Obviously, trying to push and pressure someone else through a sequence of corners lap on lap will really take out the grip from the tyres, and will wear out the tyres a lot quicker, which could potentially throw your strategy off. It is very easy to just kind of get into the mindset of focusing on the guy in front of you or the person that you're racing, and just try and either gain the position or hold the position, but completely forget about the tyres and your actual strategy, and you could end up having to pit a lap early, which could be pretty costly in these leagues.
Yeah, so you speak of strategy, so obviously, as we've touched on during the qualifying session, the drivers have 3 different tyre compounds that it can go on: the soft, the medium and the hard. The soft being the faster tyre, but also the least durable one. And you would assume that a lot of these drivers are running the soft tyre right now. Unfortunately, there's no overview showing us which tyre they're on. But Yoki, for the people who are running soft tyres, when would you say you expect the pit stops to be happening here?
Well, what are we doing? We're doing 31 laps. So imagine somewhere between the end of lap 14 and I'd probably say lap 17 at the latest for the guys who really want to eke out the first stint. Something that I tried to do a number of times last season is try and make that first stint a little bit longer, and then try and really go for it and try and make up any possible positions and ground that you can't make up in the second stint. The guys will be running basically a full tank of fuel for this race. They won't pit for fuel. It's not worth it. The amount of time that you gain on a lower fuel load tank just doesn't gain you enough of an advantage to negate the time that you spend in the pit refilling. So the guys will be running rather heavy fuel loads at the start, and then obviously that will come down and it'll just be a case of swapping tyres. I imagine, like you said, all the guys at the front, the quicker guys, will be on the softer tyres, but some people who I'd probably say who started from 8th position downwards and are willing to try and take a little bit of a risk and a little bit of a gamble, see if they can capitalise on a position or two, might try for the medium strategy. But obviously we'll need to wait until around about lap 14, which will actually be the next lap, to see if anyone will start pitting. Actually looking back through the field, Mini Black and Silver Arrow swap positions. Silver Arrow claiming himself 10th position ahead of Mini Black in his Bentley, and then we've got a little bit of a gap to Tony. He's got himself up into 12th. He's managed to get past Nostra and is also pulled away from Michael and also AJ and Blue Rat and the BMWs behind them. So there's been a little bit of action off camera that we haven't seen, but there's still plenty of action going on camera as well. And it looks like, as we predicted a lap or two ago, Nesta has closed up onto the back of Brownski, and that's going to be the battle for 3rd position as we come on to start lap 14 now. And here we go, coming out of the final corner down the start-finish straight. Don't think Nesta will be close enough to have a look down the inside, but he is actually going to have a look down the inside. Brownski moving across there to defend it as well, going a little bit deep. Will Brownski be able to close that gap on the inside there? No, it looks like he just holds his line Basically, he just covers it off, but Nesta is very, very close to the rear of him. He's going to have a look down into the inside for turn 3. Under the brakes now, I believe that Brownski is probably going to let Nesta slip through, as Nesta is the one who's showing a quicker pace at the moment. And obviously, these guys coming towards the pit stop phases, their tyres probably won't be looking too great, but it looks like Nesta's tyres are holding on a little bit better than a number of the other guys at the moment.
Yep. Good move from him. He's really got some blistering pace right now. As I mentioned before, he was in the second division in the Pro League last season, and but to be honest, he had a bit of a weird season last season. When he started off very slow in the Pro League, starting off the season with a 14th place and a 12th place, but then he really just turned it on, and he actually won the final 5 races of that season. So clearly,
wow.
Nesterovic coming into the Elite League with some fantastic form from the Pro League last season, and carrying that into this race, as you can see, currently running on course for a podium in his Elite League debut. And Brownski actually dropping slightly into the clutches of another debutant, Karotten Rudy, in 5th position, and then we still have Pedro RC just clinging onto the back of them in a 6th. Seems to be quite a gap down to 7th place. By far, I don't know, hard to say exactly, a couple of seconds, 2-3 seconds down to Macy. Oh, and we might have the first pitter in this race actually. Very convenient that I was watching Pedro RC there, because he streams off into the pit lane in that brand new Cadillac car, brand new to this game. And interesting camera angle here, just showing his roof at the moment. So we'll go back to him in a second, as obviously all the drivers behind him will now gain a position.
F1 Massa's also pitted. Well, F1 Massa pitted from 2nd position. And that's something that he actually struggled with, I think, in the last couple of seasons. He seems to be very, very quick and very, very fast driver, but he does take the tyre life out of his tyres, and he does seem to wear them down a little bit quicker than others. Let's just see. We could potentially pick up Karki, who I believe, yeah, he's still in 1st position, still lapping round. So Karki hasn't pitted yet. I imagine that we will see him in the next lap or 2 making his pit stop.
So Massa coming out in relative clean air. He's got one car. He's got Ginger S, who is Karki's teammate, I think, actually, in the Bentley. Only like a second and a half or so ahead of him. And you'd expect, with that Bentley potentially being on quite worn tyres right now, he might catch him up reasonably quickly. It remains to be seen if Jinder wants to kind of help his teammate, the race leader, out and try to defend hard from Massa, or if we just let him go, knowing that he won't really have too much of a chance defending from such a fast guy with fresher tyres as well. That could potentially lose Massa some time. Can you keep an eye on Karki maybe and just see if he pits at one point?
I will, yes.
No,
he's in the pits now, just as you said.
He is in the pits, yeah.
In the pits now, so
good timing. You keep an eye on him then, I'll keep an eye on F1 Massa, because he's really catching up to Ginger S. Into the final chicane of the lap, up the hill. To a left-hand braking zone now. Go into right and then towards the finish line. 16 laps remaining in this race, and Ginger S, Karki's teammate, doesn't hold up Massa at all, because he also streams into the pit lane.
Yep, we got Nesta in the pit lane as well as Amazing CZ. Dinder, yep, like you said, has gone into the pits.
Karki's come out just ahead of Tipple there. He's a bit lucky. He's got some nice clean air as well. There's 2 cars who haven't pitted yet out in front, Brownski and Karotten. Oh god, what? Did you see something?
I'm trying to pick that up now. I did see something. Silver Arrow pitted at the same time as Mini Black, and I think they may have had a conflict with the garage there, because they looked like they were pulling off in the same pit box. Mini Black was just in front of Silver Arrow though, and just as Mini Black popped into the box, Silver Arrow's Merc straightened up and drove straight out of the pit lane. So I believe he's just driven through the pits without actually making a stop.
That could be very unfortunate, yeah, because Mini Black is definitely a lot further back on track compared to Silver Arrow, so that could very well be the case that he just hasn't been given the tyre change that he clearly came into the pits to get. which is very unfortunate for him if that is the case. And he's actually tend with Nestero, which now has pitted right behind him. Let's see if...
yeah, much fresher tyres.
Exactly. Nestero just goes straight for the inside.
Now.
Silverado doesn't bother defending too hard. I think he realizes the situation and he just wants to get back into the pits and hopefully he'll have more luck on the next attempt.
Yeah, that seemed pretty unfortunate. There is a facility that does tell you that your pit box is occupied when you come into the pits, but obviously if the guy that you're sharing your pit box with is literally a car length in front of you, you're not going to know that until it's too late. You're already in the pits. So, very unfortunate and rather unique and interesting scenario there that we've just seen pop up. I imagine we'll see Silverado pit in at the end of this lap and obviously make that tyre change that he is probably desperately needing, but that's going to cost him an awful lot of time.
Indeed, as Nostra now goes into the pit lane from P6. As Mikhail right behind him, who carried on though.
Yep, Silverado's gone into the pits now.
F1 Massa back up to 4th position as a result of this. Kaki back up to 2nd. We got Tipple in 3rd, who has not pitted yet. Bransky still leading the race, who has not pitted yet. So this is kind of the stage of the race where, you know, all the pit stops are happening. You got some people a little bit out of sync for a few laps. And, well, I'm sure Bransky is enjoying his his time in the lead right now, but he's got Kaki just streaming up on him very, very quickly. And I think he'll just stay on board with him, to be honest. I mean, it might not lead to too much of a battle, to be honest, because Bransky is a smart guy. He'll know as well the situation with regards to the pit stops and the tyres. Unless Bransky is actually running on the medium tyres. We never know. He might actually...
Exactly what I was just about to point out.
Yeah.
Our reports tell me that he did 0 stops. I believe I may have mentioned this earlier in the race, that Bransky did 0 stops in the social race last night. So if he can run on this one set of tyres all the way to the end, whether it be on softs or mediums, I imagine he's probably running mediums. I highly doubt he's running the softs. The mediums, people did struggle with them last season, but I think that was due to the variation in temperatures. Obviously with more stable temperatures this time, the mediums should hold up a little bit better towards the end of the race and not drop off quite as heavily. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Bransky is going to go to the end with this one. Obviously he's got Kaki right here behind him, and Kaki will want to try and get past as soon as possible. I doubt that Bransky is going to make too much of an effort to hold him up, and actually no, he just goes and lets him through. Now as we come into turn 1 on lap 18, Tipple, I believe, is still out on circuit. Yes, he is. He hasn't pitted yet either, so he could also potentially be going towards the end. He's got F1 Massa closing up onto the back of him, so potentially Bransky and Tipple here trying to play the long game and try and do this race without making a stop and see if they can potentially capitalize on another position and basically track position here.
Yeah, and they're teammates as well, aren't they? So they might actually have just come together on that strategy and figured out that they want to try something different. Most people clearly running the softs in this race because most people have been through the pit lane by now. But Tipple and Bransky still running and yeah, surely on the medium tyres then, and we'll be going to the end. But Tipple has got F1 Massa to contend with now in just a moment as Massa on those fresh tyres is closing up to the back of that BMW Z4. Massa running the Aston Martin V12 Vantage. Pretty different cars. I mean, I've only driven the Z4 out of those two actually. Not the Aston Martin, but the Aston Martin now going up the inside of Tipple. Quite pretty straightforward move there for Massa, I think. Just like Bransky, Tipple realizing that he's not got too much of a chance here, especially towards the end of the race when his tyres will be wearing off a lot more. And Massa also being on the faster tyres, and Massa up into 3rd. So Massa though still got some work to do to catch Bransky. Not exactly sure where the gap is, probably about 4 or 5 seconds up to Bransky in 2nd. You'd think that based on Massa's fresher tyres and his qualifying pace that he'll be able to do that quite nicely. Still has to do it and not make any mistakes. We got Mikael 7M running in 5th place. I'm wondering, I don't think he's pitted either, to be honest. He's ahead of his teammate Nesterovic, who was running a lot higher up the field earlier in the race.
Yeah, I think that's the current situation at the moment. But I'm wondering if he could potentially be on the medium tyres as well.
Yeah.
I imagine Nestorovic will get past relatively quickly, though, considering his pace on earlier on in the race.
Such different lines. It's interesting. These two taking very, very different lines through the first corner there. Mikhail entering very wide and cutting back in with Nestorovic just taking a really tight entry. But they seem to do it pretty much on the same pace. And I wonder, yeah, Mikhail now letting his teammate through. So I think that kind of confirms our thoughts with regards to the strategy. Mikhail on the slower tyre, trying to make him last to the end.
We're in 10th. Then we go back to Mini Black in 11th. He's got TonyR for company, closing up onto the back of him, still in 12th position. I imagine he's on a brand new set of tyres. Well, both of these two guys will be on a brand new set of tyres, yeah. And TonyR looking to recover his race somewhat. Close back up onto these other guys. Pretty close to Mini Black at the moment, but obviously you want to try and score as many points as you can as he gets pretty close to the back of Mini Black, coming into the penultimate corner. Now coming into the final one. This is the crucial one where he needs to get a good run and seem to hook
right
up
in that curve so hard as well.
That should open it up for him. Picking up the slipstream now. This looks like Mini Black is going defensive into turn one. TonyR trying to go around the outside, trying to break a little bit later. He's going to actually run a little bit too deep. May potentially line himself up for a good exit though, coming out into turn two, which is basically a very, very small flat left-handed kink. You barely really notice it coming out of the first corner. Now coming into turn three, he's going to be looking around the outside of Mini Black here. Will be able to take the move around the outside.
Looks so close.
Making a little bit of contact there between the two drivers, but Mini Black has gone and let TonyR slip through up into 11th position. I believe that'll be out of fairness, but actually Mini Black is now coming back up at TonyR, coming into the braking zone of this next right-hander. TonyR looking very, very defensive, trying to squeeze Mini Black on the inside there, try and make the line as tight as possible and try and hold the position. These guys are still very, very close. Mini Black is not wanting to give this position up. The rear of his car looking like it's stepping out a little bit. And still he's right underneath the rear wing now, having a look at the inside, coming into the next corner, but TonyR covers that off quite nicely, but running deep in the middle of the corner there. This should
it's a bit of a twitch.
Undercut there, which is going to do. And now
it's a fantastic battle.
Back up in front of TonyR. And now it's going to be, I thought it was momentarily going to be a drag race there, but TonyR's going to slip back into the slipstream of Mini Black. And will once again have to try and fight his way back past, but it looks like Mini Black went a little bit deep there. He did try to get back towards the inside curb, but TonyR stuck his nose up the inside and he had to give way to Tony to try and avoid making contact. I'm not entirely sure if there was any door-to-door rubbing, but they did look like they came very, very close indeed. These guys are still going side by side.
It's been side by side the whole lap.
Fantastic stuff. This is what league racing is all about, is trusting the other driver, just going at it hammer and tongs, even though we're halfway through the race at the moment of this 31 lap race. They're still side by side now as we come to start lap. This drag race, you take over, Fizzy. Go on.
Oh my god, this time Tony is on the inside. It's unbelievable. It's been pretty much a full lap side by side. This time Tony is on the inside of turn one, unlike last time he was on the outside. Mini Black this time holding around the outside in that Bentley. Also interesting to see how massive that Bentley is compared to the Aston Martin in terms of body size, but this time TonyR.
Big car as well.
Yeah, both of them. And is that AJ? Because of all this battling, AJ is kind of just silently clawing his way to the back of them. Tony getting super close there to the back of Mini Black. At least they're no longer side by side. That's makes a first for a while. And Mini Black still somehow retains the position because he was running ahead before this battle even begun. TonyR was the man kind of catching up and passing, but then Mini Black just fought his way back through, and TonyR has got his all to do all over again. And this, I really hope this battle carries on because this is some incredible racing so far. Oh, yeah, riding the curve all there as well.
Yeah, very, very aggressively. He really was trying to get Mini Black as soon as possible, try and get himself into clear air and try and make up some positions. But Mini Black is putting up a very, very good defense and holding his line as TonyR gets very, very close to the back of Mini Black there in the braking zone. I do believe they may have made a little bit of contact. However, TonyR is still behind Mini Black for the moment. Mini Black trying to cover that inside line, hooking up curb on the inside quite nicely as well. Just trying to hold Tony back as Tony's just going all out, throwing everything that he can at Mini Black to see if he can find a way past. Mini Black going very, very defensive there as we come into the second to last corner. This is where TonyR needs to try and keep a level head and try and get the switch back. Instead, he's going around the outside, coming into the final corner, coming in to start the next lap. It's going to be a little bit of a drag race. No, TonyR's going to slip into the slipstream underneath the rear wing of Mini Black as we come down towards turn 1. Mini Black covering the inside line quite nice there as we come into this first turn. TonyR trying to hang it around the outside. He isn't going to be able to quite hold it all the way around the outside there through turn 1, so just a little bit too long, but they're still side by side now as they come down towards turn 3. Surely TonyR is going to have it this time, giving Mini Black a little bit of a squeeze there onto the right hand side of the circuit, trying to open up this corner for himself as much as possible. Looks like he may have just about got the move done, but this could be Mini Black making contact with back of Tony there, giving it a little bit of a shove, and Tony running out onto the gravel on the outside. I believe Mini Black will drop back a little bit there to try and negate any potential advantage that he would have made coming into the braking zone of that corner, and that could, although could have gone horribly wrong for Tony, may have worked in his favour, and this could be the small break that Tony needs to start to pull away from Mini Black.
Sterovic in 5th. We got Tipple. The gap. There's still quite a few seconds between them, to be honest. About, I don't know, 13, 14 seconds even. So Nesterovic still got a lot of work to do in this last 8 laps if he wants to catch up to the 2 guys that are no-stopping here. I think the no-stop is working out perfectly for Brownsky and Tipple.
Yeah, they could be very close towards the final few laps, especially with Tipple. I think Brownsky should be safe and he should be able to hold on to 3rd position, providing he can keep the car on the circuit and not have any spins, but he seems to be running in pretty clear air at the moment. F1 Massa has got past Brownsky, so Brownsky's not really fought hard to prevent that move from happening. Oh, AJ's looking pretty close to Mini Black here. I think Mini Black could be struggling with the Bentley as AJ's looking pretty threatening onto the back of his rear bumper, and can't help but feel a little bit, especially here in this first race. It depends what happens in the next couple of races, but I feel like Mini Black may have lost some pace jumping from the roof, which seemed to suit him rather very nicely. He did show some very good strong races last season, and like you said, got himself some very nice results with a lot of podiums and a couple of race wins. But this first race here in the Bentley seems to be struggling as the front tyre is under rotating there as he goes through that right hander, which is pretty cool to see. That's
that's kind of the thing you need to consider when you're picking up a car for the new season. It's like, do you want to stick with your old trusted driver that you've got experience with and you know you can do well in, or do you give yourself a new challenge and try something new? And clearly Mini Black went for the latter option here by switching to the Bentley. I'm sure it's his first race, or competitive race anyway, with this car. I'm sure he can find some speed later in the season.
Yeah, Bentley, difficult to set up, but if you can get it hooked up right and get the car underneath you, it does seem to work quite nicely. And speaking of that, actually, Dinder S is having a look at Michael around the outside coming into the penultimate corner. This is a Bentley against roof battle, and Dinder looks like he's got the move quite nicely done around the outside there, coming into the second to last turn.
Yeah, we go. Mini Black trying to maybe find a way back past AJ.
Oh, AJ's what places?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've been watching right now.
Oh, okay.
AJ just passed Mini Black. But Mini Black coming back around the outside of turn 1. Is Mini Black going to be involved in another amazing battle here? He was obviously fighting hard with TonyR, who's literally just run off into the distance. He's trying to fight back now against AJ after being passed once again. And he's actually done it. He's pulled a lot more speed around turn 1 and through turn 2. And to get himself down the inside for turn 3 and holding onto that position. Running a little bit deep though compared to AJ's BMW M3 vehicle, and he might just get a better erected. Mini Black thinking about going defensive there, and he's actually done it in the end. AJ not getting properly alongside to fight back Also worth pointing out, we need to keep an eye on this as well. I think Nesterovic is very, very much closing in on Tipple. He's still in 5th at the moment. I'm just going to quickly jump over. Nesterovic, yeah, you can see there, it's less than 2 seconds now, I think, the gap between Tipple in 4th and Nesterovic in 5th. That's Brownsky, you can see down on the chicane of turn 3 and 4 at the moment. Tipple and Nesterovic just coming into it right now. Tipple holding the position. There's about 5 seconds maybe between this battle and Brownsky in 3rd. And Nesterovic really needs to clear Tipple as fast as possible to have any chance of getting onto that podium, catching Brownsky. He's going for the inside now though. Tipple being Brownsky's teammate as well. Brownsky might want him to defend hard there, but Nesterovic has gotten through pretty nicely indeed down the inside of that corner, and is now up to 4th place and will be charging down the other BMW Z4 of Brownsky.
Tipple and Brownsky seem to be lapping at very similar lap times at the moment.
Oh, might have a battle here back. Sorry to cut you off, but Pedro RC has gone really, really wide through one of the chicanes. He's actually dropped a position now to Maisie CZ in the battle for 7th position in this race. Maisie and Pedro, 2 guys who have been in this league since season 1, and they have just swapped positions. And yeah, it wasn't so much a case of a good overtake by Maisie as it was a mistake by Pedro there. It looked like he just went too deep on the brakes and ended up not really having any chances of defending that position.
Parky just quickly jumping up into him. He's actually going to turn 1 now, going through that. Whereas F1 Massa has just come out the final corner.
I think that's about 15 seconds or so. It's pretty big gap between the top 2. Kaki is showing some incredible pace right now. F1 Massa, usually being the pace setter in this league of footballs, he's a reigning 2-time champion, but on the day today he's been outperformed by Kaki, and we got a potential battle lining up here in the final couple of laps as well. We got TonyR actually catching in on Ginger S for P9 in the race, just continuing his work of catching up, or yeah, well, just making up for lost positions. And also AJ and Midblack still going at it actually. They've got Mikael 7M not far ahead in 11th, so this might be a three-way scrap shaking up in the last couple of laps. Very interesting. Mini Black in a roof and BMW M3 sandwich right now. And, well, the filling bigger than the bread in that sandwich because the Bentley's massive. But, so we got like 1.5 lap maybe. Oh, we got actually Mini Black maybe having a go at Mikael 7M. Was really dropped off the pace. I think he was quite far ahead of these guys, but he might also be running on the different strategy, of course, of not having stopped. I believe he is. Yeah. And he's just been passed by Mini Black, and AJ might just be coming through very soon as well.
Oh, a little bit of contact there between the 2 drivers. And it
actually run very wide.
Yeah, yes. I think he probably got punted off wide, and AJ has gone and taken a position away from him. As they come through the next sequence of corners, I guess Michael was probably really starting to struggle with the tyres now. Nostra still in 14th. Silver Arrows managed to get past Blue Rat somewhere along the line off screen, so Silver Arrows back up into 15th position. However, he is well out of position. Actually, Dinder S has gone and lost the position to TonyR, so TonyR is now in 9th position. Yes, we did miss that, unfortunately, off camera. That pass was made, and TonyR showing some pretty strong pace, I believe. His last lap was a 1:58 dead. Is pretty good. Most of the fast guys are in the 57s.
So is there only 1 lap remaining right now?
Yes, there is.
So we're on to the final lap.
Nesterovic has gone off on the inside of turn 1. Just picked him up just there, and he was recovering on the grass back onto the circuit. So I believe he must have lost the rear end coming into the braking zone and into the actual apex of the corner, and I spun off onto the infield, which means that Brownsky has had the pressure taken off of him and probably can cruise for the rest of this lap. Still be able to hold on to the podium here. Tipple
Look at this.
Is very much under threat from Karut and Rudy, who is looking to try and take away 5th position. Tipple trying to hold an inside line here to try and force Karut and Rudy to go around the outside here, which it looks like he's going to try and do. If he can pull this off, there'll be a pretty astounding move. If he can, actually no, he's gone a little bit too deep there. Tipple pushing him out wide a little bit. I was going to say if he can hold it around the outside there, he would have the inside line for that hairpin that they've just been through just there. However, Karate Rudy having a very deep lunge down the inside there. Tipple, but Tipple closing the door, and Karate Rudy not really able to stick his nose up the inside for the moment. Also just saw there Maisie and also Pedro having their own little battle still on this final lap. So things are heating up quite nicely in these dying stages of this first race here.
I think Kaki has actually crossed the line to win the race. Just to point that out, Kaki wins the race here. But now Carrotten Rudy, it might just pull off the final overtake of the race on the final lap. There's only a few corners to go. He's got very tight, way over the curb there. Tipple really has to put up an almighty defense there into the final few corners on very much worn tyres compared to Carrotten Rudy. He's going defensive into the chicane.
Yep,
Carrotten Rudy, it's a good move around the outside.
Oh.
Here we go. Can Tipple hold on for P5 in this race? No, Carrotten Rudy carrying so much speed on the outside of the final corner. It's side by side across the line. I have no idea. I think Tipple just got past there. Carrotten Rudy did it for P5. I'm pretty sure Maisie finishes 7th, Pedro 8th, TonyR 9th, and wow, what a finish that was. And just to go further ahead as well, because I didn't see the top guys cross the line, Nesterovic ended up 4th in the end, couldn't catch up to Brownsky on that alternate strategy, finishing on the podium, very impressive on the medium tyres. F1 Massa finishing obviously in 2nd.
Oh, Mini Black and AJ are pretty close. Looks like Mini Black has just about got 11th. AJ there
Yes,
in
indeed.
12th.
Yep. Go further down, Mikael M, 7M, now crossing the line in 7th, not 7th place, 13th place, Nostra in 14th, Silvero, his teammate, in 15th place, and the final poise position goes to Blue Rat, who goes to the pit wall, shakes hands, or well, high fives his pit crew, his invisible pit crew, and he scores the final point of this race. Let's see, Martin van der Bent in 17th, unfortunately just about missing out on the points on his birthday, and he does a bit of a birthday slide there across the line.
At the end.
Yeah. And then there's the destroyed car in the wall, which doesn't have a name. So yeah, that was interesting.
That was very, very good stuff. A number of battles there by some really, really good drivers. And yeah, some very, very close stuff that we saw, some good door-to-door action. It's definitely what we like to see here in AOR with the league racing. Pick up Kaki in the pits. F1 Massa's peeling off into the pits now as well, along with Brownsky and Storich following through. So yeah, good first round. It will be interesting to see what comes with the rest of the championship for season 4.
But yeah, that was it then. That was a very, very interesting race. Some incredible battles, certainly down the midfield. We didn't see the top 2 battle all too much. Kaki just clearly having the pace on Massa. A little bit surprisingly, maybe. Obviously, with Massa being the reigning champion. We know Kaki can be super fast, as he's shown many times in the past. Hopefully he can stay for the full season this time as well, to give Massa a proper championship battle. And of course, we have a 10-round championship, meaning that 1 round is down. We got 9 to go, and next week at the same time, we will be back with the next race at Imola, which is a very interesting track as well. And if that wasn't enough at Imola, it will be raining, Yogi.
Now that will be interesting, and that should suit the Z4s. So I reckon Brownsky will have another good opportunity there for another podium. And also, I wonder how the Aston Martin with F1 Massa will fare there. The Aston Martin isn't too great in the wet, and I haven't really seen the Bentley in the wet either. So that'll be an interesting race with the top 3 finishers from this round. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that, and hopefully we shall see more action to come in the next 9 rounds, as you say.
But yeah, 8 PM UK time next week. We'll be back with Imola in the rain. So hopefully they'll join us for that. And yeah, Yogi, any final words before we go?
No, not really, other than obviously everyone who tuned into the stream. Thank you very much for doing so, and hopefully we'll just see you in the next one. Fizzy, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, indeed. Been great, and yeah, see you all later at Imola. Goodbye.
Bye.